Too many of us actually are in a panic mode to say AI will lead to job disappearing. I think it's wrong. There has been technology and automation for donkey years.
Yeah.
Each time that happened, there was a threat and we reconfigured jobs.
Do you think in this entire journey, we've done a lot of impulsive tech buying as well? Because it's like almost kid in the candy shop kind of a thing.
Business leadership across companies realize that human failures were leading to failures of all these digital programs. And these were hard digital programs. Think procurement transformation, supply chain transformation. Because at the end of the day, all these transformations need to translate into org change, job change, behavior change, capability change.
What AI has, generative AI has for us when we were in the internet era or in the computer era or in the smartphone era. So we've always had these conversations, and then when you look back, you can actually club them and see the transformation happening.
Time has come to start treating HR leader as one of the business leaders. They are also part of the leadership team of business, and they are as much a business leader as anyone.
Give us a sense of the kind of impact that an organization can have at a business level through HR transformation. Okay, we are here in Singapore and I have the opportunity of having Shaswat Kumar with me. Shashwat's been a friend of People Matters, friend to me personally, my go-to person when it comes to anything to do with HR transformation, HR consulting, all answers HR is what I can say. And it's lovely to have this conversation in a podcast setting. Normally we would do it over a coffee or a drink, but that's the essence we want to maintain. Shashwat, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and it's great to be here having this chat with you. And as you said, this is a constant chat and banter amongst two of us around where HR is going, how HR transformation is changing. So we'll do more of that today.
Awesome. Before our viewers, we want to know a bit about your journey and what got you into the HR consulting and transformation world in the first place.
So it's an interesting journey, a non-traditional journey. I am a international finance guy by qualification. Did couple of stints prior to I joined consulting. So interestingly, did a startup stint during the dot-com era, so 2000. And after that startup stint, I landed up at a company called Hewitt Associates. And I was hired by then consulting group. There was a group which used to be called HR Effectiveness. And that group's purpose was to make HR deliver the value or the purpose it is there for. Because all of HR consulting consults with HR function, but consults for the product on products, which is for employees, business and all. This was the only unit which was there to consult HR function for the HR function itself. What today is called HR transformation then was really HR effectiveness. So joined that group and then remained with Hewitt, on Hewitt. Later on a light journey for over 21 years. Had privilege of running HR transformation advisory across Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa and so on. And then we also pivoted and did a lot of cloud solutions. Had cloud solutions came up. Did a lot of that, and that became a light business and led that business in the region. And then for me, it was very natural to think of going to a product side and see really how product firms are thinking about future and investing in defining that future from a digital perspective. So that's where now I work with Darwinbox, which is one of the leading HCM tech platform. So that's about me, but have been in this domain now in true sense since January 2001 or around that time, 2001 onwards. So that's a many years of HRT.
Wow, it's almost like the silver jubilee of your career in HR technology and transformation and consulting space.
I am now dating myself, but that's that long I have been in this space now.
Awesome. We want to try and see how much of that knowledge we could get to our viewers in a short span of time. And that's where I deep dive into some of the aspects. You talked about 25 years of time, and I'm sure the whole HR consulting space would have, transformed in front of you, changed in front of you. The whole concept of HR transformation itself, I'm sure, would have evolved. How do you see it, and what's been the journey like in front of your eyes?
So, in hindsight, it's easy to now package it the way I am packaging, but obviously, when you are in the trenches, you don't look at it that way. You can literally look at HR transformation or associated disciplines and break it into two buckets, pre-2010 and post-2010. Broadly speaking, there will be exceptions in many cases. Pre-2010, HR transformation was primarily for HR function. So HR effectiveness, HR transformation, whatever you say, HR functions were doing those programs to set up HR shared services, to reconfigure their HR operating model. The strategic pain points were more limited about making effective HRBPs. They are not being effective, high impact of COE roles. At times, there were elements of governance with business and some connects to data and all. But it was primarily an HR-focused approach to HR transformation. I think around 2008, 9, 10, largest of the companies which went very global, they started experiencing people failures, and that was pulling the business back. Because think of, you are global, you are many countries, what you design in one place doesn't work everywhere. So how do you empower individuals? So what is the balance between standard, global, local? How do you harmonize? All those things became real at a business level. And that's where you started seeing elements of some of the largest businesses saying that I need to relook at what HR is doing, the value HR is giving. But it was still limited to a very small pool of super large mega corporations. Then I guess the whole digital wave matured with the internet maturing.
Yeah.
And as first the consumer side matured, and then the business started getting impacted. And then everyone was trying to be digital and run their digital programs. So digital transformation of procurement, supply chain, finance, all that happened. And as those happened, everyone after a point in time realized that none of the goals were being achieved. And when you look at the goals, and that's where it's so interesting that the name of the podcast is Humanscope. Business leadership across companies realize that human failures were leading to failures of all these digital programs.
Wow.
And these were hard digital programs. Think procurement transformation, supply chain transformation. Because at the end of the day, all these transformations need to translate into org change, job change, behavior change, capability change. And that's where a larger set of CEOs started looking at need for HR function to step up to enable this larger org change. So fundamentally, the view suddenly flipped on HR transformation to say, I don't need this HR transformation for HR function, but HR transformation so that HR function itself is equipped, geared to enable larger org change. And this is the time, Pushkar, we were already then by that time working quite closely between People Matters, and I was working very closely with you and the rest of the team. And if you recall, as we looked around, we realized Fortune 2000 companies were running on average 13, 14 such digital transformation programs.
Yeah.
It's well-researched data. Now think of it, 14 of your mega programs are failing because of people issues. So you come back and say, oh, by the way, HR needs to come to the party. Let's drive HR transformation. And many leaders started anchoring mega transformation waves with HR transformation first. Then I think around that time, also the whole concept of digital agility kind of gained momentum.
Yeah.
So as the concept of agility gained momentum, the need for human-centric thinking, human-centric design, the whole wave of design thinking approach to doing transformation, more and more companies tried to do it. More they realized that, they needed an HR function which can actually unlock this. Because finally, going back to the whole concept that the true custodian of your employees and people, and how do you build that trust has to be if there is one function which has to deliver, that has to be HR. So that started happening, and that gained a lot of traction. So that's where, if you look at post to 2015, the whole design thinking and the employee experience anchor drove this story. Because the idea was empowered employees will scale up, come to the table, drive more, enable all the other transformations which were happening in the companies. And then obviously COVID happened. So and till this point, I think in some ways HRT or digital or the focus on employee experience journeys and all, and people may do it under the banner of HR transformation or may do it as their digitization program. Some of them will say, I am doing employee experience revamp, but all of it comes to the same thing. But a lot of it was reactive. Post-COVID, I think too many companies realize that there is a need to retool the whole org DNA or architecture, the way you say it, because the reality of life is we need to manage contradictions.
Yeah.
So just thinking of HR transformation goals, people will talk about compliance today, and non-compliance issue is a huge brand risk. Think of the market, think of media, but you also need to drive extreme empowerment. Employees are asking for empowerment. Think of everyone talks about tighter culture and integration. But we also know that we are living in the reality of hybrid working. People are not really keen to come back to full-time working. And Asia specifically, too many cities have long commute, travel issues, challenges. How do you tackle that, and so on? And similarly, if you go around, there is a privacy challenge, there is a data challenge. And as we go faster on tracks of AI, skills and all, these contradictions will become real. And hence you are seeing now lot of progressive companies, I will say. I think size is now off the table. It's not only that large companies are doing. You will see enough mid-size small companies also coming and saying, hey, I need to do a design of the future digital model of work. Let's think of how do you want to anchor employee experience, what culture we have, how do we want to kind of anchor this and so on. So this is a very new space in that sense, that people are becoming proactive. Also, I think too many business leaders are proactive on the story of human side of organizations. And newer set of HR leaders are also like that. So also, I think we are entering a time where I think it's time has come to start treating HR leader as one of the business leaders. They are also part of the leadership team of business, and they are as much a business leader as anyone. In both business side and consulting world side, there has been this distinction. There is business leadership and there HR leadership. I think in too many companies, it's going away.
The line is blurring.
The line is blurring, and you will see, and I think it's a matter of time, we will see a lot of HR leaders emerge into true business roles, and they will seamlessly transition, because I already see many leaders who are comfortable in doing both the talks, and these are newer set of leaders, but that trend I think is irreversible. So I don't know whether I was able to paint a picture of change, because in hindsight it looks very real. But if you would have asked me any point in time in those stages, I would have said, no, this is the latest and the greatest and this is most cutting edge.
That's always the case, right? Today we are talking so much about AI and what AI has, generative AI has for us. But very similar or more, this kind of conversations were happening when we were in the internet era or in the computer era or in the smartphone era. Yeah. So we've always had these conversations, and then when you look back, you can actually club them and see the transformation happening.
That's true.
Yeah. So for a lot of our viewers, Shashwat, some of the large corporations have had the financial muscle or the maturity to understand that we want to commit to HR transformation. Many organizations, especially some of the homegrown ones, are still going through that journey or wanting to commit to that kind of a journey. And I say there's never a wrong time or a right time, because if you're doing it late, then you can learn from a lot of mistakes that have already happened, or you could leapfrog on things that would have been in experimentation phase. Give us a sense of the kind of impact that an organization can have at a business level through HR transformation? If you could quantify using an example, that will be wonderful.
So let me take two examples.
Okay.
Actually, from very similar industry, two very big names. So and this is, I will say, this is still, and these are very progressive organizations today. So this is, if I go back and 2007-8, this is a global Fortune 50. Both these are Fortune 50 companies. Okay. They had an emerging markets theater or emerging markets group. These were cluster of multiple markets across the globe.
Any sense of the industry for us to?
This is both examples are telecom tech, because these guys get disrupted a lot, so they face challenges and so on. So and that's where I am taking these examples, because this will be stark reality of how things are. These guys reached out to then Hewitt to say that, hey, we are unable to meet our business numbers, and the CEO of this group wants to meet consultants. So obviously a lot of us were zapped. How come? Why? Then we did a lot of working, and we realized that these are really far-flung markets. Together they contribute 18 million. So it's about ability to manage teams in those markets, which is actually leading to this issue. And as global companies have shrunk their HR, they don't have really HR teams in those markets, and no one is actually managing the HR outcomes. So that was the hypothesis we went in with. This was one of the shortest meetings in my life.
Wow.
So we flew into London. We had 2-hour meeting. We pitched this idea. This is what we think. And we had a ballpark figure. They said, okay, what it will take to start on this project. We said broadly this much.
Yeah.
This client literally said, okay, when can we start?
Wow.
So coming out of that
The pain
meeting,
was that big.
The pain was that big, but we as consultants felt cheated. When you are doing large pitch, you want to go through the grind of listening and all of that. I remember
It was too easy.
This whole pitch was led by a very close friend of mine. So in fact, I was not personally in that room that day. I was on a different project then in another location in Europe, in Lisbon. He came out and his point to me was, oh, they signed up. I said, what do you mean? We are not even scoped out. We are just given an initial notion. He said, no, they have signed up. So we are starting work in a week. So finally, because this was so vague, I spent 2 months in London. What we realized was this was primarily a sales and support and maintenance. Think of heavy tech, enterprise tech business. And then how do you build that capability in remote markets? Some markets will have those capabilities, some markets will not have those capabilities. And there was this whole bunch of HR processes from HQ which was being enforced upon. We said, and after all assessment, we came back and said, your fundamental problem is right capability on ground to deliver numbers and to support numbers.
Okay.
And the way to do it is give a simple playbook to sales leaders to do reference and enable hiring, empower them to do that. It will happen. And the business leader and the HR leader of that domain, they were very supportive. What they did was, they said, and we said, ideally we should launch a competition and we'll create a points for referral system, points for this, and because sales guys like competition. So they actually came back with the innovative idea, because as consultants, I don't think we would have ever proposed this. They came back and said, oh, how about we will have quarterly awards? I think they put a Audi TT for Q1, 1 quarter, first quarter. Second quarter, they put a Porsche, and then so on. And within 2 quarters, this whole emerging market, which was a $1.5 billion behind on numbers, they actually went ahead on the numbers by around $500 million.
Wow.
So very simple changes and tweak if you looked at it. But it was really a switch inside out to an outside in approach, and it worked magic. And then they actually picked up the elements from it, and they rolled it out in multiple locations, including in home location in US.
Wow.
To say that, okay, there is a potential to unlock the sales function and drive more. And to us also, it was shocking because it's rare that you see HR come to life immediately with action on ground.
In
And
one
this was-
quarter.
in 1 quarter. So this was really unique and shocking. And in fact, to me personally, it gave us lot of confidence in not only for that project, but generally in future to say there is a value to be delivered
Yeah.
and added. So
Yeah.
that's one example. The second example, I will go to China.
Okay.
And a lot of times we have, depending on individuals' exposure to China, we'll have various degree of view of China. Today, I think a lot of it is positive because too many people have gone to China. I think this is 2009-10. I don't think even then it was mostly a view of China as a developing market. But in many ways, it's also wrong view because there were already global leaders, companies in China already by then. And this is one such company again in high-tech industry and so on. When we started working with them, there were 90,000 employees. They actually gave us a terms of reference where the forward was written by CEO.
Okay.
And CEO actually wrote the forward that they want to do HR transformation because CEO believes that we are a 90 country operations, but we are a Chinese company working in 90 countries. This is not helping me unlock and grow faster. So that's why we want to do HR transformation. To be fair, they sincerely implemented a lot of things. They worked together to implement. That business grew phenomenally well. So this was 90,000, some $50 billion company. 4 or 5 years later, they called us again. That business was close to, I think, 85 billion or 90 billion.
Wow.
125,000 employee company. But the interesting shocker to me 5 years later was they asked us for the kind of mandate which as a consulting firm, we said no.
Okay.
As a consulting firm, many consulting firms also said no. Because they were saying that we have reached a level of maturity. The next level of unlock for me is a premium of innovation. So how do I triple my revenue without adding any headcount? Because my intensity of innovation needs to increase.
Wow.
So that journey was so unique to them that our point of view was that's your journey. You need to calibrate and experiment. I don't think any consultant from outside can really help you at scale on this. And this change in 5 years in the same org is phenomenal to see and understand. And they really realized the whole value of how this unlock was helping business. And as they saw some bit of it, they did more of it and so on. So I think organizations who genuinely deliver outcomes on HR transformation, and this I have talked many times, are organizations which are really aggressive on their aspirations. And this we have talked earlier, and humble in execution.
Yeah.
Now, if I look back in all these years of consulting, they have been the most satisfying clients because what happens is, in too many places, you will see great start and then you will say fizzling out of goals, outcomes and all. And then they will go and redo the same thing 5 years later. So these are the examples where typically when you see success sustained, you will also see organizations which were super aggressive in their goals. So they were really going for moonshots.
Yeah.
But then when it came to executing, they were really together with you, rolling up their sleeves, doing it because they believed in it. So these are the two examples which even to me are stark because the second one, the last interaction was 2016, 17, I guess. Still 7, 8, I know they have done well and all of that even post that. But the delta of change in these two cases was to the extreme order. And that's why they even today resonate.
What I like about this, Shashwat, is that you were able to drive change in a very short span of time, and there was visible impact on business that organized. Because generally when you talk about HR transformation projects, half the time people are like, oh, this is going to be this one long battle that I need to do. There's so much of execution that is needed. Then in the journey, whether I'll be successful or not, I don't know. So there is a lot of ambiguity around some of these large initiatives. But honestly, if you break it down, then and do it in the right way of being humble on execution, I think there might be gold that could be found.
Yeah, and in fact, to your point, increasingly, I will say smarter consulting partners will break that journey in pieces because to sustain and drive this org change, you want to see wins early on. If you don't see wins early on, how do you build momentum of
Yeah.
change? So, in that sense, if you look at the newer templates in which organizations are driving this, you will have enough of milestones, wins, so that you build momentum and kind of establish the change. So that's a great point what you are making.
The common point between both the examples that you gave is the CEO's commitment and the mandate. How much does that impact the whole HR transformation outcome?
I will say if that buy-in is not there, don't waste your time. Because think of it this way. This I will go back to first aha for us. This is still as HR effectiveness consulting. We did something called Next Gen HR study at Hewitt 2005-6.
Okay.
I think that study even today, and Pushkar, if you remember when we did our series of HRT study, we used to go back time and again and say how future looking it was.
Yeah.
After that study, there were multiple ahas. One of the ahas which landed was all the business leaders were not looking at then definition of HRT, and I will say why.
Okay.
They were looking at certain talent and business outcomes. Yeah. And they said HRT was HR's problem. Because what HR had done, HRT was configured as a program to make HR more efficient. But to what goal, to what purpose, that was not really addressed. And even today, if you look at a P&L of any large company or any size of the company, HR function as a percentage of cost will be at max 2-3%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And within that, if you can look at, because you will optimize a small percentage of that. So what you will achieve, and this I'm saying the expense side of it, not even revenue side.
Yeah.
Expense budget of a company, your playing field is 2%. If that's the scope of your transformation, no business leader is going to waste his or her time on that.
Yeah.
Versus if you can say your P&L is delivered through people or your revenue is delivered through people, how HR transformation can impact 100% of your P&L. Not even expense. I'm saying the revenue side of P&L,
things,
which is bigger than the expense side. Then that's something HR leaders are very interested. And leaders who believe this in this story and then decide to drive HR transformation, because it's in their interest, they will never leave it halfway. And that's where the story, and this is the oil and gas company in Southeast Asia. They were doing this whole mega HR transformation, business was involved, and then COVID happened. And you remember with COVID, all the oil prices crashed. They went to the drawing board and started looking at all projects. Actually, CEO said that let's look at all projects other than HR transformation. So he said, ideally, to manage this COVID situation, we should have completed our HR transformation earlier. Because then we would have been running like an empowered organization. They were fully with 100% attendance requirement on site.
Okay.
That was the culture. You have to be informals. So this organization saying that if you would have done this earlier, we would have been so much better today. But even now, let's not drop the ball on it. Can we fund it more? Can we accelerate the work here? Because I now really see we are on the right path. We need more of it. And I think what that commitment meant was they went ahead and executed, and they really brought that culture change. So that's where if you don't have the CEO commitment, that project would have been shut down then and there because it would have been an expense.
Yeah.
So that's where when you think of a large transformation, my first take is business commitment is necessary. Second is if business commitment is not there.
Yeah.
And you are doing it for different reason, don't name it fancy. If you are doing something to just do basic automation, you are doing something to retool your old platform, which is clunky, or your old platform was multiple other systems not working together, and you are doing it just to create one source of data and all, call it that. There is no loss of face in calling a spade a spade. So call it what it is. I think too many times we are calling a simple change an HR transformation because we want to make it look good, and then it is not what it is.
The term is abused is what you see. Okay. Interesting. Do you think, Shashwat, we've done a bad job as the HR fraternity to sell the impact that potentially a HR transformation project can create? Because at the end of it, business is only going to believe what gets sold or what how they get convinced. So, do you think we've done a bad job, or business hasn't put in that much focus? Where has the ball got lost?
I think somewhere HR fraternity, and I will not only talk about HR function, I think also the consulting firms, all of us look at HR with the functional lens, leadership, recruitment, XYZ,
Yeah.
versus business looks at HR from outcomes lens. You need productive people to deliver results and so on. I will not say that business has not valued it. So if you talk to businesses, and that's where this whole debate of human capital versus HR function. So businesses or leaders have been prioritizing human capital as a top item for long.
Yeah.
And that's why if you look at it 2010 onwards, in if you go back and distinctively look at it, that flip happened really. Because with that flip, you also saw the emergence of people who work with CEOs and owners and founders. They started building this bouquet. So if you go and look at a measure of that will be go and check the websites of strat consulting firms. And if you look at their website, I don't think they were doing any bit of human capital or leadership consulting 20-25 years back.
Yeah.
They started doing it 15 years back. Today they look like human capital consulting firms. So what has happened, because human capital issues are central to on the agenda of founders and CEOs, and this is happening. The other way I look at it is that if you go back to my consulting days, the largest buyer of leadership consulting were founder-owned companies, and the founders across APAC were investing in building leadership bench.
Yeah.
So they were already seeing human capital capacity as a constraint to their growth agenda. So it's the realization of human capital being an unlock to business. I think that's very much there. It's about how do you marry day-to-day working of HR to that. That's a gap in many places, and wherever that gap kind of disappears, you start seeing a rapid change in HR function delivers, behaves, how it is central to the business.
Very interesting. I'm going to take the view of the tech lens a bit, Shashwat, because while all of this change was happening in the way HR transformation was looked at, there's also a layer of very smart tech that was building. An ecosystem was getting built. So before 2005, there was hardly any, at least in Asia Pacific, hardly any HR technology that was exciting enough for organizations to latch on and be. But over the years, then we've had a sea of products that came in, solutions that came in, starting some were homegrown in Asia, some came from outside, and we've in the last 10-15 years we've had a very robust ecosystem of HR tech that has also enabled or fueled this growth.
Yeah.
How do you see both of them playing that role together?
Obviously, earlier tech was a challenge. So you had a vision and you will be challenged or constrained by the tech to execute. Then I will say tech caught up.
Yeah.
And now tech has gone ahead, I will say. So technologically, lot of things is possible today. It's the other side where now we see a challenge. So because a lot of things is also a discipline and it takes time to build. Now, especially in an Asian context, organizations are relatively new. Even large organizations have scaled up dramatically over last 10-20 years.
Yeah.
So the whole management processes, program maturity is a very different level of lever. If you go to for example, most heavy engineering or engineering related companies which are European in nature, and because they have been there for 200 years and so on, they have gone through different iterations. They will have good library of skills, competency, technical skills, general universal competencies. They will calibrate it to jobs. They will have then success profiles and all that. And then with that taxonomy in place, it's easier to translate to a skills ontology and do fancy things. In Asian context, lot of this will not be there. It's just a matter. It's not about because these companies are not smart enough to do that. It's about they never had time to do this. They have always been in hyper growth phase.
Yeah.
Because these companies have just grown and they continue to keep grow, which means that there was not enough pause any time to do that. And today many of them are jumping to say, oh, I need to do talent marketplace. I need it to be automated on skills. So I see too many discussions with how do I want to put it nicely, with unrealistic expectations from tech. Tech will need some input to come in from business to contextualize the outcomes. And that's super important because going forward, machines will be automated to build up more things with AI and all. So unless and until businesses are ready with right set of inputs, they will not be able to get value out of tech. Lot of current AI use cases is mostly, I will say, transactional and peripheral. I think it's not even a matter of time. Very soon, if I look at it, it will get into the classical domain-driven decisions of HR. So think decisions of assessment, decisions of matching and so on. As they get into that, obviously from a tech provider perspective, it's real value. Because you can demonstrate outcomes, you can demonstrate delta. And from our perspective, we can obviously charge for that. But from a client perspective also, that's value, subject to you knowing that what you need and why you need. And that will be a big jump because then you need, I will say, capability to step back, think and all. And classical OD skills generally is thin in the region because we never had demand for that in that sense, because we were literally in a phase where I will say really the last Southeast Asia financial crisis, which was in 1997. After that, it has been growth only, while there was a blip of global financial crisis, did not hit the region that much and so on. So there has been constant growth momentum for companies. Biggest challenge has been how do you support that growth momentum? And which has meant that a lot of these other things had not been prioritized. As we look at the future tech, that will be instrumental. So how do you build this new muscle of, in a way it's counterintuitive because you are saying machine will do more, but to get that value, you need more anchoring of classical OD, organizational design and the science behind it, which people would have for long were thinking that, okay, this will go out. So OD, behavioral science and all, those will become more central to HR than it has been over last 15, 20 years.
Do you think in this entire journey, we've done a lot of impulsive tech buying as well? Because it's like almost kid in the candy shop kind of a thing that so much is available. Then I go shopping and then I start picking up stuff. And then I reach a point there where then I start thinking, okay, how do I now stitch all of that together? Then the thought process comes, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. I have personally seen a lot of organizations going through that. What's been your experience?
I will agree with that because I think especially last 7-8 years, the HR pain is felt at the top. Now then you in your board or with business friends, you hear that they bought this tool to solve mobility. You just went and bought that tool. My mobility will also get solved. But the reality is mobility is a discipline of the two things. So for example, you can say global mobility and tech tools will allow you to find talent and all of that. But the two things which will make it happen and the biggest barriers to failing on global mobility is first mindset that talent does not belong to me, talent belongs to the company. And
managers don't need to hoard talent.
So that's one. Second is the belief that I will get talent for myself. So there is enough in company or we have access to get. When you build these two beliefs, you see manager behavior change where, to your point, instead of hoarding talent, they are letting go of talent to newer, better opportunities. If this is not there, no amount of tool will not help. If this is there, simple posting of job in email will also get you mobility. So tech itself cannot be the solve. So you will need to get into the underlying reasons of problem in an area. And that's where you always talk about in design thinking is the way to get design right is to understand the problem at the nth level.
Yeah.
Unless and until you don't understand the problem, how do you solve for it? And to your point, tech cannot be the solution. Tech will accelerate it.
Yeah.
Tech will allow you to do it at scale. But you need to first understand the problem, what solution is ideal, and then enable it with tech. But that happens, I will say, in 20% of the cases, 30% of the cases. Most of the cases, it's not like that. You are buying tech because it's the new glossing thing in town.
We also buy tech because competition has bought tech as well. Similar people in my industry have bought tech. And then when I'm represented at forums, I don't have a tech story.
Yeah, it's a lot. Peer pressure is a big one. The only good thing is many companies in the region, and it's super interesting. In my experience, now I am seeing a lot of tech success in first-time tech buyers.
Okay.
And this is maybe unique to a Darwinbox journey. Obviously, you expect people who have bought tech many times and are replacing platforms to succeed.
Yeah.
That's a given, that happens. But people who are buying tech first time, I have seen too many of them succeed because they are executing it without any notion of preconceived biases. So they are literally going to the drawing board genuinely and saying, hey, by the way, I don't have anything. We have never thought of policies. And it will not be surprising in Asia to at times come across an organization, I will not say 50,000, 5,000, 7,000. Still working off small time tools, local tools, Excel files, even up to 10,000 at times. And when those guys honestly step back and start doing it, they see massive gains.
Yeah.
And when they do it by tooling, say today helpdesk, and with helpdesk you can have generative AI added to actually service employees and all. So employees are seeing a different level of service, which they have never expected. So they are delighted. HR suddenly is seeing freeing of bandwidth. Because many of them are saying we don't even need shared services now.
Yeah.
But if you save all this bandwidth where it is going, they are actually going and spending more time with employees. So to me, I think that segment is the nimble one where they are seeing very direct results very fast. Larger enterprises are making change. Some of them are committing to it. A lot of them also invested in the last cycle and invested late in Asia.
Yeah.
So they have a big investment hump to overcome and make changes. So over next 2-3 years, I will say too many large companies in APAC will make that switch. So it will be interesting how that switch looks like across, I will say Southeast Asia, India and China. If you look at this territory, most of the biggies will really now start doing the switch to cloud. And it will be interesting, how do they take advantage of that to address other bigger issues around HR impact?
I think there can be a very interesting build up around how do I think through the cloud journey, and even if I've committed to cloud, then how do I rethink on my cloud journey as well? Because our research says that a lot of companies are going to make that shift in the next 2-3 years as well. That's going to happen. Then there is a lot of capability related things that HR and business needs to adapt to as well.
100%. So in fact, to your point, Pushkar, just switching from current way of doing things to cloud actually doesn't make sense. Especially now, leave aside the next order of things coming on skills and AI. Even today with what you can do with document, generative AI, help decks, employee services and experience, if you just do that right, I think your transaction load on HR will look very different. If transaction load on HR will look very different, then what HR will do from people perspective needs to be addressed first. And hence then it's logical to think of what are the 3-4 most important areas for your business, and each business will have different priorities and their own focus. How HR can accelerate it. Even if businesses just address these 2-3 things, I think the impact from this cloud migration will be way more than just migrating technology. I hope that most companies will look at it like this. And then because there is a natural ROI.
I think we need to do a far better job of getting the CXOs on our side on this whole agenda. More and more our sort of coming close towards this whole change, but I think there is a huge need of having driving the CEO mandate on either implementing new HR tech, getting that strategy right, also prioritizing HR tech and transformation journeys over, let's say, a sales journey or a marketing journey. Like if you were given an option of buying a large CRM for sales and marketing versus HR technology buying, a CEO would always prioritize CRM and marketing. Now, how can both of them be prioritized?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess that outside in pressure will always remain.
Yeah.
But smart CEOs will say that these are independent and they need to run faster. The good thing which is happening is you are seeing emergence of close working between, I will say, not only CIOs and CHROs. Increasingly, you are seeing a lot of close working of CFOs on HR initiatives, because the most impactful HR initiatives, at least in Darwinbox for us in recent times, have been one where CFOs have worked on the ROI of the impact. And it's so interesting when CFOs look at the ROI impact of initiative, they are not constrained by the within function impact. So HR was looking at, from example, I'm talking a case is a bank in the region. It's a Southeast Asia based bank. CHRO's view would have been HR functions or programs impact. CFO view was very simple: how much time I am saving for employee in a branch and for manager in a branch in a month. They took a very conservative view, because employees not being serviced, there is a pain.
Yeah.
And then that first pain lands with the manager, because manager is the real people manager in a branch. And they said, okay, these many hours we are going to save. Actually, on Go Live, they checked and they said, yeah, it's done. We are saving more than this.
Wow.
Then they multiply it across employees and managers. They put an FT, and there is already ballpark about what is the revenue impact of each FT in business and so on. So that became the impact for the digital HR program. That impact, I don't think HR on its own would have tabulated. So I think increasingly this partnerships, one is CEO is super important from an alignment perspective, but this partnership between finance, HR and IT, I think increasingly this is important, and it's happening because they are needed also in other transformations. So IT needs HR to come to the table to drive org change in other transformations. Finance is going and doing ROI there. Similarly, finance transformation itself needs HR. I am saying increasingly number of companies, and for sure in most mature organizations, you are seeing this triumvirate coming together. And I think that's a hallmark of good success. Obviously, they will tend to challenge each other. CIOs will continue to look at elements of security, access, openness of the platform, integration, ease of integration, because those are the hallmarks and the lens with which they will even help HR to take a right decision. HR will continue to look at the functional and the business aspects. CFOs, in our now experience, is if you have to close a program with success, let's close that value case with the CFO, because that keeps everyone honest. And once CFO signs off on something, then the whole business will come behind and say it's right. Yeah. So what it does is that there is no background rumors floating around, oh, this program was not really successful and so on. That allows you to gain respect in the firm and credibility. And once that happens, you are allowed or uncapped to do more. So in those firms, you are seeing HR functions go ahead and take the next level bet, do next level experiments. So it's interesting times in that sense.
We could talk all afternoon about this. What do you think, as a wrap up, Shashwat, things that will change in the next 2 or 3 years? Where there's a lot of new tech aspects that are coming forward. We're talking about AI agenting becoming so important. Where does the humanizing aspect also stays along, lives along? What's HR's role in that? So if you could give 1 or 2 predictions in this space.
So it's predictions only, because I have also been thinking, reading a lot on AI, trying to get myself also up on the speed on that and all. So one is, I'm not getting into the AI aspect from an HR tech. I will come to that later. First, think of AI aspect from org, job design and workplace itself. Too many of us actually are in a panic mode to say, oh, AI will lead to job disappearing. I think it's wrong. And you were saying that there has been technology and automation for donkey years.
Yeah.
Each time that happened, there was a threat and we reconfigured jobs.
Absolutely.
So the reality is jobs will get reconfigured.
Yeah.
And the opportunity is that can we take most mundane, boring part of jobs out? And can we make most jobs interesting in the world? So that as employees, we look forward to coming to office and doing work which is creative in nature, which actually demands collaboration. You are doing human interactions. This opportunity is real. So that's one aspect which will happen. Second, which is already happening, is we will have a lot of delayering of the organization. Because now with better tools, data visibility, you don't need a hierarchy of managers, because it was just a pyramid to manage people because you did not have tools. So that will continue to accelerate, which will mean we'll need to empower more people, trust them, and so on. So it will be interesting how that dimension of change changes. So that's really the impact of AI on the work side, and that will be most interesting to watch, which is the whole job reconfiguration and the org reconfiguration. On the HR tech side, I think we currently are giving too much of I will say limelight to transactions and AI automating those transactions. But if you ask me, they were even there possible before. RPA was doing the same thing. Today, it will be done by AI bot, and that's okay. An AI bot could be smarter, could learn, but even you could have made your RPAs learn from past event and do that. So it's a better way of doing the same.
Is it better marketing now?
No, I think it's a tooling is different, so you can call it. But the real value of AI will come when you actually get into the decision making aspects of HR, and you can connect it. Because, for example, now technology and large language models will allow you to step back and say that, okay, this is the industry skills standard. But we also know from research and science that high performer in one job in a company is not a high performer in the same job in another company. In fact, there is interesting data. The most individual oriented job considered is trader's job in an investment bank. But only 40% of the time, a trader who is a high performer trader in one investment bank actually remains a high performer in another investment bank. So your org context, even in the job which is considered to be individualistic, is 60%. So in most other jobs, it's 70%, 80%. It's fair ask, fair. So how do you build your own model of skills, both soft and hard, to say this really results in success in my organizational context? As that gets established, you can link it from recruitment to performance to attrition. But the downside of it is it will start forming cults, because cultures will become so strong, which is great thing. But at an edge point, it will also blind you to dramatic changes. So how do you guard against that will become the next problem. But this whole AI and skills combination in HR will be a game changer, which will take AI beyond transactions. So currently it's mostly query and transactions. But the real use cases will start happening when it starts getting to skills and behavioral sciences and those pieces. Already, I will say tech-wise companies are ready. Today, when we are getting in pilots with clients to get the data and basics to scale up, stand up from their context perspective is taking time. But I think you will have emergence of initial pilots in next 12 to 18 months. Once those pilots succeed, I think more industry models will get deployed.
Awesome. I think next 2-3 years are going to be very, very exciting. So many things changing, lot of tech buying. And then the results that could really enable more and more business outcomes. I think that's where a lot of the action might happen, which is always great to look forward to. Lovely to have this chat, Shashwat. I know every time we would get into a conversation, we would touch upon so many areas, but I love the passion with which you drive some of these things over the years. You've seen this space as well. So thank you so much for for always being on the People Matters platform, and thank you for being part of Humanscope.
So thanks. It's lovely to be part of Humanscope, and it's a great series to uncover human aspects of, I will say, work, not
Yeah.
even HR.
Yeah.
And look forward to next few years, because HR tech, I guess this is the most interesting time coming for HR tech. You always say it,
Yeah.
but genuinely this is real disruptive time we are entering into, and it will be great to continue this discussion, because I guess we'll see a lot of new things happen.
Looking forward to it. I think we'll have a sequel to this, I'm very sure, and then we'll come back and revisit some of the conversations that we've had
Yeah,
today.
look forward to that.
Awesome. To our viewers, that was Shashwat Kumar, someone that I really, really look up to when it comes to HR transformation, HR consulting, the world of HR technology, and lovely to have him join us. Thank you so much. Signing off from Singapore.